YouTube Ozic going. The Goat House is back. And today I'm showing you guys my Pro Bowl rosters, going position by position for the AFC and the NFC. So this is what I think the rosters should look like and very well could end up looking like as well. So excited about this. All kinds of NFL coverage here on the channel every single week. We have off-season videos coming out now too, a recent free agency video, and more to come. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, follow us on Twitter. Links pinned in the comments for that, and our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, code GOAT. Check it out. Starting with the quarterbacks, so this is who I would pick for the AFC and the NFC here. So Lamar Jackson, MVP favorite for a reason right now, definitely would get my vote for the AFC roster. Tua Tagovailoa and Josh Allen. So I would expect these to be the three guys, but because Patrick Mahomes is such a great player, I mean the best player in football, he hasn't been this year, but he is the best player in football in general for starting a new year or on the last few years, obviously. But because he's that big of a player and very popular of a player, he potentially gets in, but then who would be out? Maybe Josh Allen, maybe Tua. I don't see a way Lamar is out, but we'll see. I think Matthew Stafford right now is playing like the second best quarterback in football. I'd put Lamar at number one. Stafford's throwing the ball. You know, if we're just talking about the passing aspect, Stafford's probably number one right now, the way he's been playing, in my opinion. Somehow he's underrated throughout this year. Definitely should be on the NFC roster. And then Brock Purdy, his last game was a tough one. I know some things just didn't go his way, some tip passes landing right in the Ravens' lap, but not the best game, but overall he's had a great season. And Dak Prescott has had a really good season too. So I didn't really have to think about this too much. These were my three for the AFC and NFC. This is what the rosters when it comes to quarterbacks should look like. I'm curious to see what it will look like. I'm curious to see if Patrick Mahomes is in over one of Tua or Josh Allen. Who's it going to be if he's in? And Stafford better be in. I'm just going to say that. Stafford better be in. He's playing incredible right now. Good to see him healthy right now, knock on wood. Rams are playing really good football. I know he missed a game because of injuries, but that's what I have for quarterbacks. For running back, some obvious ones at the top for the AFC. You got to go Raheem Mostert, and James Cook's been great. A big reason the Bills have really picked it up and look like a playoff team, once again, as they should. But huge in the run game and the passing game. The ball security could be a little bit better. Raheem Mostert's been fantastic. It's crazy, too, because the Dolphins are obviously a pass-first team, and for him to be that effective and, that touchdown machine that he is, but the big playability type of guy that he is as well, with a couple other backs in the roster, it's very impressive. For the third spot, it's pretty much open. Like, there's a clear top two. I'll go Travis Etienne. I thought he's been a big factor for the Jags this year. Not just running, but I think catching the ball as well, like big playability. Could be better. I thought about Derrick Henry here for the spot. I think Etienne has been a reason the Jags have won a decent amount of games this year. For the NFC, it's the same situation. The top two are very clear. Christian McCaffrey, in his first name is misspelled. Apologize that. Graphics guy in trouble once again. He's always in trouble. MVP candidate, CMC, best running back in football. Just ridiculous. So fun to watch. Kyron Williams is looking insane recently. The way he's running the ball. I mean, the quickness, the vision, physicality for a guy. He's small on the smaller side. Guy his size too is pretty impressive, and it's a big reason the Rams are getting going. They can beat you multiple ways, and it starts with Kyron Williams. Now, I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. Halfway through the season, I probably would have said his teammate David Montgomery, he was looking really solid, and he got injured, and then Gibbs they're starting to use him more and more, but big playability. Look at last week against the Vikings. That game was actually close. I mean, he had some key plays in this game to keep drives alive or score touchdowns and even catching the ball out of the backfield or downfield, showing the speed. Another guy, though, like you view him as a quick, speed, home run guy that can catch the ball as well as run the ball, but he's got some physicality to him. So I guess that's where everyone will have a different opinion, the third running back on both rosters. But the top two on both sides, they better make it. I think they will. I'd be shocked if Mostert, Cook, McCaffrey, Williams are not in the Pro Bowl. So we'll see. For wide receiver, for fullbacks actually first, well-known guys here. I think the most important fullbacks in football, fullbacks being used less and less, but Ricard and Juszczyk, the top teams in each conference still valuing the fullback, valuing that physicality, part of the offense. So they're there for a reason. they're on those teams for a reason where they're needed most. For receivers, yeah, I mean, there's some obvious ones here. Tyreek Hill on the AFC is a sure thing. And then for the NFC, I think CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown are definitely sure things. I could argue some other guys are probably. But, yeah, didn't really hesitate with Amari Cooper, what he's done this year, especially with multiple different quarterbacks. I mean, he went crazy. It was yesterday he was out, but the game before he went crazy. So that definitely helped his case. Keenan Allen's been fantastic, continuing to separate and do his thing. And NFC was way tougher. It was way tougher with so many. Puka Nacua, Mike Evans. I mean, it's so hard leaving these guys out, but that was probably the toughest thing out of this whole roster for me is picking just 4. Lamb and A.J. Brown, zero hesitation, but picking just 4 from the NFC, like it killed me. It killed me to leave Mike Evans out, Puka Nacua, guys like that. But Ayuk has been as good of a separator as anybody in football, big playability. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's been Mr. Consistent, big playability type guy as well. A big reason the Lions passing game is what it is. But we talk about Keenan Allen. And the 4th spot for the AFC was pretty tough. Jamar Chase probably gets in, and he's missed some time, coming out of end of games as well. Started off a little slow. Cortland Sutton, I look at what Cortland Sutton's done, and he doesn't have the yards that some of these other guys have, but why do we have to base it on only yards? I mean, he has the touchdowns, that's for sure. But some of the big plays that he makes, but think about it. You take Sutton away from the Broncos, I think you have a lot less wins. He's single-handedly won games, I think, in clutch moments at the end of games. So I look at the value in actually like single-handedly winning football games and the touchdowns that he's racking up in those moments. That was enough for me. So I put Sutton in there. Again, the NFC was tough. I'm not gonna Lamb and Brown have to be in. Somebody's going to be a snub between Ayuk, St. Brown, Nacua, Mike Evans. There's probably more I can put in there. I mean, if Justin Jefferson played all year, obviously he would be in there. It's tough. That's extremely tough there for the NFC. For the tight ends, just 2 from each side. I got to go David Njoku. I mean, the guy looks like the best tight end in football recently. Is he? In general, no. But recently, he's been insane. The separation he's getting, the big plays, the run after catch. He had a little portion of the season there where he was playing well, but he was also dropping the ball a little bit. So thought about that. Evan Ingram's been big playability waiting to happen for the Jaguars. I did leave out Kelsey. I mean, he has a lot of yards, but man, he's been different this year. He's had some costly mistakes in big time moments of the games this year, which the Chiefs could have won. So if I'm only picking 2, I like 2 a little bit more. The NFC seems to be stacked with tight ends. It's tough leaving out some other guys as well, Komet, Laporta, and there's more than that. But Hawkinson's been huge for the Vikings and multiple different quarterbacks as well. Unfortunately, he got injured, so there would be a replacement, I think, obviously for him. Since he had a pretty nasty knee injury in the last week's game. And George Kittle has been fantastic. Again, getting open, and I think he's doing what Njoku's doing for the Browns. He's doing it for the Niners, and just the space he creates, and then for him to go off after the catch as well. So those are my 2 tight ends for both conferences. Offensive tackles, Deion Dawkins has really got going as the year went on. He's been fantastic for the Bills. Giving up a limited amount of sacks. Has he given up 1 sack this year? Garrett Bowles, I think, has been pretty solid as well for the Broncos. That offensive line, I thought, really picked it up this year. I thought he's played very well. And then Laramie Tunsil on that Texans, he's missed a little bit of time. But, yeah, the AFC offensive tackles really aren't, there's really no, elite guys this year. So I guess it was debatable with some guys, but there's no one that's, absolutely, wow. I mean, Dawkins is really getting going, but NFC's much more loaded, it feels like, for the offensive tackles. Got to go Penei Sewell of the Lions, Christian Darsaw of the Vikings, and then Trent Williams, who's known as the best in football. I thought that was an easy 3 to choose, and there's more. I mean, look at the Eagles tackles. I mean, that's like I said, the NFC is loaded with the tackles compared to the AFC. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting, the difference between the 2. Then we're looking at guards. Joe Tooney, who's consistently one of the best. Quinn Miners. We had some Broncos guys popping up for me. More Broncos than I thought I would have. because we had Sutton, which most people may not have, but I think the importance, the value, like how he's winning games, but we're past that point. Couple offensive linemen. I think their offensive lineman has been playing well, and Joe Bitonio of the Browns. For the NFC, go Chris Lindstrom of the Falcons. We go Landon Dickerson of the Eagles, and Tyler Smith, who's been very solid. Look at last year, even when he played tackle and guard at times for the Cowboys. So those were my favorite guards for the year for each conference. And then the centers, Tyler Linderbaum's really coming along, and a much different blocking scheme than where he was at college compared to the Ravens. So that's impressive. That makes it more impressive. Quite a few Broncos, like I said. We got 3 offensive linemen. I think their offensive line's been doing a really good job. I think Russ, maybe a reason why he's been benched too. I mean, he'll take some sacks. He doesn't take a lot of sacks, but taking some sacks that are on him, I think the offensive line's doing a good job. But Cushenberry, I thought, has been very solid for Denver. Not a long list of really good centers in the AFC as well. Humphrey's given up a lot more than usual. He's been solid, but in the passing game. NFC, Frank Ragnow and Jason Kelsey, I thought that was pretty clear-cut, the top centers in football. So the NFC is looking better when it comes to the offensive linemen, but by a long shot, in my opinion, for across the board. On to the interior defensive linemen. Yeah, this was tough, too, to narrow this down to just 3 guys. Matabuke from the Ravens has been a production machine on that Ravens defense, the top one in football, and there's your top dog up front. So he's been huge. Christian Wilkins, I think equally effective versus the pass and the run. So that's why, and he's a big play, big play waiting to happen too. So that's what I love about Christian Wilkins and Chris Jones. Carrying that Chiefs defensive line, taking on double teams and still winning reps. It's tough leaving a lot of guys out. There's so many good ones. Ed Oliver, Quinnen Williams, you wish there was a little bit more production get up quarterback, but he's getting pressure. But it's tough leaving some of those. There's probably more to Dexter Lawrence and Aaron Donald are easy choices. Dexter Lawrence of the Giants, Aaron Donald of the Rams, are easy choices. Probably the top 2 defensive tackles in football right now in general. And then Javon Hargrave is the next one. The third spot was pretty wide open. There's no one near Dexter Lawrence and Aaron Donald's level on the year, in my opinion. But Hargrave's really been coming alive more and more recently. He's been playing all the way through the year, been playing very solid. This is what I don't love about the Pro Bowl, how they separate so much, but this is just defensive ends. If I was in charge of the Pro Bowl, I would do edge and then off-ball linebackers being outside and inside linebackers. They don't do it that way. So these are just, edge rushers that play defensive ends. So Max Crosby, easy choice, potential defensive player of the year pick or winner. Myles Garrett right there with him. These are the top 2 guys of the defensive ends on this year. Trey Hendrickson's had a really good year, too. Been very effective getting after the quarterback, so the Bengals star pass rusher makes the cut. For the NFC, again, just defensive ends. We'll talk about the outside linebackers. Nick Bosa, maybe he hasn't had the sack numbers he usually has, but he's still really getting after it, making big-time plays. He gets doubled quite a bit, too. Montez Sweat's been good. He was good for the Commanders. He's even better for the Chicago Bears. The Bears defense playing actually, believe it or not, one of the better ones in football. So he's been very solid. How about Carl Granderson of the Saints? They gave him extension during the year, and it was like, that might be a little bold, even though he's playing pretty well, but it's such a small portion of the year. Might be a little bold, but now it's looking like maybe a steal for the Saints because he continued to play well, even better. For just strictly defensive ends, he's a disruptor. He's playing very, very well. So those are your 3 defensive ends for each conference. Now we talk about the outside linebackers, which is the flaw, in my opinion, of the Pro Bowl, because this is 3-4 outside linebackers, which are edge rushers. They are like, I put them in the same category as Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Montez Sweat. I put them in the same category, but the Pro Bowl, the NFL with the Pro Bowl does not. And there's also off-ball outside linebackers, so 4-3 outside linebackers. I don't agree with that because they're totally different positions, totally different players, and it kind of hurts the chances of the off-ball outside linebackers getting in the Pro Bowl because everyone wants to vote for the pass rushers, the sack leaders. So that is kind of the issue. But obvious choices. TJ Watt's an obvious choice. I think there's 2 there's more than 2 obvious choices, but there's 2 yes, they have to get in. TJ Watt in the NFC side, Daniil Hunter. towards the top of the NFL in sacks, been, clear difference makers. Go Josh Allen of the Jags. He's been fantastic for them. Micah Parsons, another pretty good choice. And we did go Rashawn Gary, who's been good for the Packers. So we actually went 3 edge rushers for the NFC. And I gave an off-ball linebacker some love, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah of the Cleveland Browns, who's very solid in coverage because of his athletic ability. But he's constantly in the backfield. Tackle for loss machine. He's making big-time plays. The range, the downhill ability is pretty damn solid from him. So give some off-ball linebackers some love there. We got a lot of pass rushers between the defensive ends and the outside linebackers here making the Pro Bowl. And they are well-deserving. In the inside linebackers, Roquan Smith of the Ravens, and actually it was kind of tough not going with 2 Ravens. I think Patrick Queen has had a hell of a season, and he's a guy that's taken a little bit of heat in the past. He's been really, really good for the Ravens this year. But Quincy Williams has been fantastic for the New York Jets. In the NFC, Fred Warner, easy choice. There's a lot of good options for that second choice. Demario Davis, Levante David. If Levante David didn't miss some games here, towards the end, it could have been him. Like, these veteran guys look like they haven't lost a step. So I think that's the difference there. Demario Davis has been big time for the Saints. He's getting in the backfield a lot, getting sacks. Frankie Lavu as another one that is tough to leave out. The Panthers linebacker. So some really solid ones there for the inside linebackers. Just 2 per conference. Cornerbacks, Chiefs corner Trent McDuffie will put in there. Sauce Gardner of the Jets been locked down. Derek Stingley Jr. has really come along here. Has looked really, really solid getting his hands on the ball. And then we'll give a slot corner some love. Mike Hilton, the best slot corner in football of the Cincinnati Bengals. Just a big playmaker, a difference maker, whether it's in the backfield or making a play downfield. Best blitzing corner I've seen in maybe ever, to be honest. Slot corner, I should say, ever. So, yeah, there's some tough ones to leave out here as well for the AFC. A lot of good corners. NFC, I think Jalen Johnson and Deron Bland are your obvious choice. Jalen Johnson looks like the best corner in football, the Bears corner right now, and a really good, solid defense that's starting to pick it up. Deron Bland, interception machine, been big time for the Cowboys. You could throw Gilmore in here as well. Paulson Adebo really stepped up this year, and the Saints guys kind of corner's been in and out with injuries, but he's been a big-time playmaker. And Charvarius Ward of 49ers, I'm kind of blocking his name, but he's been great, especially more recent, been playing better. He played great last year as well. That looks like a good signing from this past offseason, the one before. So, yes, maybe some of the Browns guys, it was tough to leave out for the AFC. Denzel Ward was playing really good. He has missed some games. I think Martin Emerson's been very, very, very solid. The NFC, if Marshawn Lattimore wasn't injured, I think he'd be up here. I think he's arguably the best corner in football. Patrick Surtain could be in general the best corner in football, and there's been some guys that have been better, obviously, and then there's been some of the guys I just rattled off. There's been some injuries. Safeties, just 3. It's all right. It's weird. Sometimes you get 2 strong and 1 free. I think it's weird how they do it. Kyle Hamilton. First off, I think Jesse Bates has been the best safety in football this year, the best playmaker in football. But then I think the next, right behind, they've also been playing great. Kyle Hamilton and Antoine Winfield Jr. Those 3 guys I just rattled off. We got 1 from the AFC, 2 from the NFC. I think they must make it. And Javon Holland's pretty much right there as well. The third option for both are kind of open. There isn't really a clear-cut guy, in my opinion, for those third options. But Jordan Whitehead's been very solid for the Jets. And the NFC was funny because who was that? It's a really big drop-off after Bates and Winfield. And the 2 guys I was really thinking of were actually both Viking safeties and not named Harrison Smith, which is funny. Josh Metellus and Cam Byard, Cam Bynum, mixing Kevin Byard and Cam Bynum. Well, Bynum's been a big-time playmaker. We got some playmakers up there getting like a strong save. Josh Metellus has been everywhere. He's been everywhere this year. He's forcing fumbles like crazy, getting his hands on the ball, but he plays. We've seen him line up at strong, seen him line up at free, seen him line up at linebacker, slot corner. We've seen him line up at every position. So I think get him some love. Trying to get a different style safety in there as well, which tends to happen with the Pro Bowl roster. That's one that's kind of like a wild card. Will he actually make it? But who's going to get that next spot? That's a big question here. Special teams, going to go Cameron Dicker, Brandon Aubrey for the kickers, Bryce Behringer and Brian Anger for the punters, and then some return specialists there, some guys that were big factors, and Shaheed's a pretty good receiver as well. So we tend to see that happening. Get a good receiver that also plays special teams. So who had the most? The Niners had 10 players, pretty ridiculous. The Cowboys had a good amount too, 7. So I was surprised they had more than the Ravens for me, but Ravens had 6, and then a couple more AFC teams, the Dolphins and the Browns, had 5. So overall, I mean, some of your best teams in football this year, for the most part, get the most players. So it shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but that's my take on how it should look. We'll see how much different what the surprises are, who the snubs are when those rosters eventually come out, which actually probably should be sometime soon. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know the snubs of my roster in the comments. Anybody you think I missed. Some of those were tough, tough to narrow it down. But always talk with you guys on Twitter as well. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.